I was asking you if you knew if your neighbor had a permit for that rooster, because most cities it's illegal to have a rooster because of the noise they make.
No, I know. Well, you said it funnier. You said, do they have a, do they have a permit for that cock?
So they have a permit for that cook. Because my best friend Monica, who lives in Hawaii, I think last year I was on one of our like couple-hour phone calls that we do every once a month, and I was complaining about all the bullshit in my life, as most of our conversations go, and then she chimes in with her side, which doesn't always crush my side, but at the time really annihilated whatever I had to be complaining about, because she had just bought a whole thing of fertilized chicks. So she had a bunch of chicks hatch out at her house. She had a chicken at her house previously with her roommates, but because she had never done this before, she didn't know that from a farmer you're supposed to say, like, I just want the ones that are going to be chickens, which I don't know how they would know in an egg, if you can even tell that kind of a thing. But anyways,
No cocks.
so no cocks. So all of these chicks hatch, but some of them are roosters and some of them are chickens. And where she is in Hawaii, it's highly, or at the time she was in Colorado, it was highly illegal in the neighborhood just to have a rooster, start at 4 a.m. going off.
Jesus.
Whatever. So Monica has to kill these roosters.
What?
So I'm on the phone with Monica, and like that hour she had just had like a rooster hanging and slit its throat, and she has to do it again, and like it's just so metal. And because the other option is that, okay, when one of your neighbors calls and they kill them at the Humane Society or whatever, she thinks it's a much more traumatizing experience, which arguably it is, to then get kidnapped and be brought somewhere and then have to get killed there or whatever.
Definitely.
So it was definitely the most humane thing to do at the time, but like, what a metal.
Did she do it in front of the other
circumstance.
chickens? Like,
I think there was no option. Like, her yard's only so big. I can imagine it now where she was living in Colorado, but it felt she's a Scorpio. It felt very like of her whole aesthetic.
I wonder if chickens get PTSD.
That's their whole life. Why do you think they're like that? They're just fucking traumatized animals.
Okay, so I have a couple questions.
Yes.
Do we eat roosters, or does anyone eat roosters? Like, is roosters something you can eat? I'm sure you can. You can eat most things, but...
I think so, but I do think the popularized thing to eat, I think females have more fat like they do with like human bodies, and so they're more delicious.
Right, and roosters are like a pain in the ass, so you wouldn't want to, you can't breed a bunch of roosters together.
They're annoying as hell, yes.
The other thing, have you ever seen this thing where you drag a chicken's beak? Like, you take a chicken, you kind of lay it out alive, and you drag it through this dirt, and it automatically will get paralyzed because it thinks that it's being dragged, so it's programmed to play dead.
Because that is better for its body. It's always better for
relaxed,
limp or whatever. Yeah. That's so smart.
Yeah.
I wish we had a limp setting where you could just. You
I
can
mean,
try. Some people are good at it.
Yeah.
If you pass out. But you have to hope to pass out.
You have to be a person prone to passing out.
Because that's like the difference between anybody that survived, I think, like a long fall, or like anybody that survived a plane crash or falling down without a parachute is always like you pass out.
Yeah. And your body's not rigid, so your bones can kind of just bounce.
Totally. So they get fucked up, but not fucked up. They don't die.
That's why drunk drivers survive and their victims don't.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I haven't thought about that.
Yeah. They say the drunk drivers survive always because they fucking.
They're just whoa.
Loose goose.
Yeah.
I mean, can you think of some times that you've gotten drunk and hurt yourself and it's been cool, or has it been?
Yeah. I mean, I fucking split my wrist open here. It's so funny because I think of that as something that happened to me. But then I was hanging out with Kavanaugh and all the boys the other day, and he's like, I remember when you split your wrist open on that rooftop. We were just, I don't know, I was just a drunken fucking 28-year-old on a rooftop in Williamsburg. And this guy came out and he's like, what the fuck are you guys doing up on my roof? And I was like, hey, fuck you, buddy. And I go to, we start running, and we have to just jump over this little fence, and my friends jump over, and I'm probably the best person to jump over this fence. Everyone else is out of shape and a mess, and I jump over, and my wrist just stayed behind on the top of this fence, and it just flapped open a piece of skin. And I was like, oh fuck. And I just covered it, and it wouldn't stop bleeding. And I just took off my shirt and put it around it. And then we went over to a bar, and my friend just bought a fucking shot of vodka and poured it on there. And I was like, whatever. I just kept partying, and the thing bled for 4 days. And then I went to a doctor, and she was like, damn, you should have gotten a stitch. There's really nothing we could do about it now. So I have this scar. But I don't know. Besides that, I've always been, when I broke my ankle in a mosh pit when I was Mare's age, when I was 29.
You were
Which doesn't it seem insane? Like if you were to break your ankle at your age in a mosh pit, like wouldn't you just be like, "What the fuck am I doing?"
Yeah, ankle's such an annoying break. It's one of the most hindering ones, right?
Oh my god. It's one of those ones where you're like, "Fuck, gee," like you can't stop thinking about the moment you did it. Like, what the fuck? I'm such an idiot.
Did you have crutches when you broke? Obviously, when you broke your ankle, yeah.
Yeah, crutches.
Did you do a wheelchair or did you just rock crutches?
Just
You were
crutches.
Like, fuck it. Yeah.
And it was like late April, so it was a bummer for like 6 weeks in the spring, whenever that happened, when I was 29 years old. But yeah, screeching weasel. I was just doing a classic pogo move, just jumping up and down, and somebody fell and like I just landed on them when I came down, and I could hear the bone break above the music, and it was the loudest. It was just.
Well, it probably reverberated through your bones.
It was just an insane moment of my life that I can remember like it was yesterday. And then trying to get out of there, I just like fucking seal crawled out of there, and the venue was just like, get the fuck out of here. Like this was Philadelphia, you know, a little more hardcore down there.
Yeah.
I just said, get on your way. So I just went to the hospital by myself, and there's not really much they could do. They just they're like, all right, cool, we'll wrap it up and you'll be on your way. And yeah, it fucking sucked. Any kind of drunken injury, but worse than a drunken injury, I feel like, is the drunken anxiety. I know probably anyone that's drank has dealt with that. The hangover anxiety of like, oh God. Like,
oh, you feel that way even if you don't break a bone. So if you fuck yourself up and you were drunk,
that's what I'm saying.
You wake up after drinking, you're like, oh, what did I do? This feels horrible. But then a broken bone on top of it or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, this is reminding me, I have 2 basically data, like pillars. If you claim to be a partier, 2 things need to have happened to you in your life. One of them is you need to have broken a bone and forgot how it happened.
That's a pretty good
The second
party.
one.
Yeah.
That's
The second
a party.
one, and you have to qualify both of these to be considered a partier in my eyes, by the way. Second one is you have to have made money that you don't know where it came from.
Oh, that's good. That's good. That's really good.
And are you a partier?
I'm a partier.
Yeah.
That's how those standards got created.
Yeah. I'm really glad you got all that out of your system when you were young, because you're still so young.
I know.
And you're so far beyond partying. It's one of the things when we first met you, I was like, is Mare the age she says she is? Because, like, how did she already, kind of learn her lessons that quick? Like, you don't even fuck around at all. You do not fuck around at all. So, it shows me after 2 years of being with you, like, you definitely learned your lesson. I don't know what you did. I don't know how you learned it, but you learned your lesson. Like, you do not fuck around with Coke or alcohol.
For 2 years, I've been saying, Mare, we should get drunk together, and it never happens because we both think better of it. We're just
They
like,
just like our life too much.
I'd love to see Cass drink. I know I'm going to enjoy myself on one of those nights when we get Cassie drunk. But yeah, no, I'm very glad that I burnt it out of my system too. And went full throttle with it.
I had burnt it out by your age, but I only started at 21. So you got your start way younger, and you probably burnt it out in about 8 or 10 years as well.
oh, my friends who were like partiers in high school, like Coke and alcohol and everything. I mean, I did a little bit. I dabbled, but now I'm like an adult child. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's like we all need to have our moment of just being crazy, and if you don't do it young, your whole life is set up to be crazy because you're like.
We were goody two shoes, like through high school and pretty much college, and now we're like adult children for sure.
Yeah, I was in a different way than y'all. It's funny though.
What do you mean?
Well, like I was like very prude, and I got like straight A's in school,
true.
and like I did a lot of drugs, and I always did a lot of drugs.
Yeah.
My mom said even like she knew that I was going to be into drugs from when she would try and give Tylenol to my brother and I. She said it was impossible to get Ben to take Tylenol when we were kids, and you were like, give me anything all the time. At the doctors, you could take needles, you could take anything. And I was like, I know, and you had to be worried about you.
It's so funny though, because you are like prude and like not wanting to put certain things in your body, but
So yeah.
but you're like drugs. That's for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and as Sean, I had to get out all my crazy negative ones before I could really fall in love with the good ones too, and because I did them both at the same time too, and that was how spirituality and magic came into my life as I started to bring in acid and mushrooms into these, which in the society and culture that I grew up in was the craziest thing. I was just telling Sean and Cass yesterday, like it was more acceptable in the city that I was in Texas to be doing cocaine than it was to be smoking weed. And if you did acid, oh my God, you were going to be dumb and fucked up forever. And you were going to be in a business meeting in 50 years and get a flashback and never recover from it. And,
Yeah.
you know, the second that I did it, the day I turned 18, I just felt like it was the biggest dupe of my life. I was like, everyone's been lying to me.
Yeah, I know.
About these drugs. But it is funny watching Eastbound and Down, and I told you guys the last time I watched Eastbound and Down was when I was still doing cocaine, and I remember him going into the back room with Clegg, dropping a rail, and just that deep craving in me watching that show, and I think I then like probably poured myself one and did one at the time. But yeah, now I have a complete different relationship and different set of desires in my life. It's so interesting.
Well, I think that we all need a little fuck it button in our life. And it's good to replace, if your fuck it button is like booze or cocaine, like that's rough. That's not going to serve your body that well or your psyche. But like if you can turn your fuck it button into a nicotine pouch, for me, that's fine. Like, you know what I mean? Is that one of his? Am I making sense?
Totally. No, it's definitely choosing. We always need patterns for escape, and like even working out is our fuck it button sometimes too, right? But you need to like diversify that because especially if you have just one fuck it button, no matter how healthy it seems, it's going to turn into something probably corrosive in your life.
Of course. Look how I am with the running even. I'll start timing myself and I'm like, why am I doing this? The fuck? I'm out there like it's Mario Kart and I'm racing my ghost from the day before. It's insane. You know what I mean? When this should be my outlet for like, fuck it. But like that thing, and I still can see people drinking alcohol and understand the appeal of it.
Yeah.
I play the whole thing out and I say, I don't want to do that, but the appeal of just like, fuck it. Like the second that you crack that thing, that's all that matters. Who gives a fuck whatever we're thinking about being uptight about? And that scene in Eastbound and Down when he's like, let's just go do some fucking coke. Yeah. It's just such like, we all need that like, let's just get out of here. Let's fucking, who gives a fuck? Let's party. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, and everybody has different chemicals and different things that like get them to the place of being more relaxed in the like distorted dimension that we're in. And I think it's important to not feel shame and like embrace the things that make you feel good. And it is just kind of like a long journey of navigating. I think I sort of project onto everybody else's story and I assume they kind of like me came from death energy, and then you sort of start to invest more and more into like life energy and things that consistently raise your frequency instead of giving you like a fast hit and then you know are going to drop you, and that I consider more to be death energy. But that's not true. Some people start off very light and you get dark, and you know everybody has their different.
You either start off with a cold, barren landscape that you have to repopulate with beauty, or you start off with this beautiful thing that becomes a cold, barren landscape. And you set it on
fire, and then you have to use the ashes or whatever.
Exactly.
But I think I've definitely like the devils that I play with, or the demons, have gotten to be more angelic over the years, I guess.
Yeah.
You have a high standard now.
Yeah, totally. And like, it's funny because like drugs from the outside in, like if like people that knew me through high school, people that just know me online, like, yeah, you know me as a druggie or whatever. But if you really know me, the reason I did drugs is because I was abusing myself with eating. Mm-hmm. The reason I did cocaine was so that it was the only thing that made me not think about throwing up. Yeah. It's like, cool, I get to do cocaine today and not think about the one way I do want to abuse myself. So in that moment, cocaine was my angel during those years, and I forget, like, it saved me. And
Shout out to cocaine.
I needed a demon to save me. And it's funny, like, I think about all the other times in my life, like, sometimes like when you're in really dark places, it's just the thing that's higher frequency. Mm-hmm. And it can't always be God mode that you're shooting for.
Sometimes you're like so low that your demon to lean on is at a higher frequency than you.
Literally.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like
literally.
You're so in the depths of also just growing up and not knowing who the fuck you are or what's going on.
At all. And feeling complete. I mean, so many things informing the decision. And, of course, a drug, you can understand why something like cocaine and coffee are so rampant in our society, because the second that you do it, you turn into the person that's capable of operating in the hypermasculine system that we're in. Like, all of a sudden I was motivated.
That's why I can't
all of a
try
sudden
it.
I had a career. All of a sudden I was motivated to work every day and do the things I needed to be doing to, pay my fucking mortgage and do all the things or pay my rent at the time and do the things that I needed to be doing.
Fuck it. Another shout out to cocaine.
Yeah. Well, gave me a whole fucking life.
You said that to me the other day, and this is not a girl that dreams of doing coke again or is trying to convince us to do it or anything like that, but she's like, yo, if I wasn't sitting there doing coke, I would not be a tattoo artist.
1,000%.
It's kind of fucking crazy.
The reason I started drawing, the reason I started studying drawing was cocaine. It was when me and this guy, I was dating this guy Bronson at the time. I had this house in Colorado. I remember the night that I started. I think I was up until like 4 a.m. just drawing all over my hands, and I think I still have those photos somewhere.
Oh, I need to see those.
Yeah, and
that was your first time, like fucking
when I was growing up as like a 4 or 5-year-old in like class, I used to draw myself in my hands. That was like always something I did. And I got in such big trouble from my mom and my teachers and stuff from that. But that was, I remember that night so vividly. It was like I got downloaded this one skill set I could lean on for a second, and I just drew myself for hours. And then the next day I got a notebook and I just started drawing and I started studying figure drawing. And like that's how my brain is when I like want to do something. It's just like, okay, go train and be better at the thing. And it gave me the masculine energy and the audacity that you need to have to even entertain that idea of having that be my career, of claiming people's flesh, and like it got me everything that I have.
Well, now you specialize in hands. Now I'm like, your hand tattoos are like
Isn't that
there.
funny? And I would love to like just do hands. There are people that just do palms. There's a guy I know that just does that. I think that's really cool.
You just need a little Colombian curve.
But I feel that way kind of about coffee and the society and the culture that we're in and the genre that we're in, and like yes, I'm like very, very high energy without anything in my life, and I'm sure I could attack my life totally sober. But sometimes it feels like actually to be the man and the woman and the father and the daughter and everybody that I need to be to run my life, it's like I almost need to use these things that get me into the frequency of the system that we're in. You can understand why people use these drugs. You know what I mean? It gets you into the vibe of the system, and you're like, oh yeah, okay, capitalize, like work, create, like do the thing, like
dominate.
Desperation, domination, hunger. The other thing that motivated me to have a career also was hunger at the time. I didn't have anybody else helping me with bills and stuff. So I think that's huge. And I think something like cocaine that lowers your serotonin just inevitably makes you more hungry in general in life because you're more empty.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I was just apologizing. Right before we got on this podcast, I was apologizing to you for taking a sip of coffee. And I don't even get mad at the coffee. I get mad that I take that and I feel like I fit in more with the way things are right now. And I curse our fucking system. I'm like, I hate that this feeling is more in line with what everybody's jiving with out there. And I'm like, fucking, because I'm too sensitive. I got to get a tolerance to it. I'm way too sensitive to be in that. And that's why I'm not probably as productive as a lot of people, And I don't care. I don't worship. Productivity is like probably not even in the top 5 or 10 of like things I want to feel and things I need to feel accomplished.
No, it's not for me either. The number one thing for me is I want flow. And I would love to have a universe where it was set up so that I never had to be anywhere at a certain time. Scheduling is oppressive innately to me, you know what I mean? But the reality of my life is I don't have that space. I don't have a space where I can just be flowy all the time. The reality is I need to,
drink coffee.
Be a man.
And be a fucking man for once.
Yeah. And work my 3 jobs and pay all the shits, So, yeah, I hold the dream. You hold the torch, but my feet are also on the ground.
My feet are in the coals, damn it.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yep.
Would you walk on fire? If that was like a thing, they were like, oh, no, we can walk on fire if you just...
No, I'm good. I know the feeling that they're probably going for.
Like invincibility or something?
Yeah.
Mind over matter?
Yeah. I think that the circumstances of my life give me that feeling on an IV drip all the time. I don't really need to be like, look what I just did. I can't believe it. I broke the pattern of just going to work every day, and now I'm here with Tony Robbins fucking getting 4th-degree burns on my fucking feet. I don't need that.
Yeah.
I don't need to do that. That is a hilarious little Google, though. What's that guy? Is his name Tony Robbins?
Yeah, he did that.
Google Tony Robbins Dallas firewalking. He basically sent a whole fucking 30 people had to go to the hospital because he was fucking had them going across hot coals.
And they weren't like emotionally prepared, or they were too hot or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny because, just like you're saying, we all put our feet in the coals in different ways in our lives, in different realms. And the physical one seems like the most shallow, but in order to play in the shallow realm, it's like you have to have the deeper ones kind of locked and loaded, too. Feet are so interesting to me. It's like what Pisces rules, and it's kind of the oldest thing in our psyche. And I think our feet have like so much memory like our hands do. We don't think about them like that. Where we've walked and how we tread and how you put your feet down and how you lift them up.
I think our feet probably even more than our hands have evolved so much. Like, can you imagine what our feet used to be before we discovered shoes?
Or walking.
Or well, I mean, they probably they probably just used to have the most hardened, calloused feet you can imagine, like an animal.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got used to some shoes and socks and soft things and Crocs.
Well, there's you can see tribes who don't use shoes, and they're always climbing trees, and their toes are really strong and far apart.
They're a way different thing than our feet look way different than somebody who's actually using their feet in some way. It's kind of wild.
Totally.
Speaking of feet, it's kind of when you say that, it keeps memory or whatever. It's our back, our back being where we all the emotional pain kind of gets held.
Yeah.
And where we, find that most back pain is emotional, and that, you can move it. And once you kind of acknowledge that it's an emotional burden that you're carrying, that's kind of manifesting in tension. Yeah.
Well, Cass has been doing hypnosis sessions with people because it's worked on her, and she's done it to me. And I've told you that story about that trippy. We were at an airport and I couldn't walk, and then Cass read me a little passage from a thing, and that's basically all you're doing when you hypnotize someone too. Or especially right now, you're reading them a script, but you're just doing it in a certain way. And she just read me this passage that just described why back pain, what it is. And I was like, I couldn't wrap my head around it until she read this to me, that it could be emotional. I was like, I physically did something to myself, and this is going to take time to heal from. It healed instantly. I could, as she's reading this, I was like, oh, I'm fine. It was weird.
Well, it made so much sense because you were so financially overwhelmed at the time that you felt like I can't go on. And then when you realize, oh, it's just my body thinking that I'm having this story. And then once you're oh, this is a story, you can then break the story or realize, okay, this story is really costing me. So do I really want to continue to invest in this story or change the narrative?
Yeah. And a lot of times with hypnosis, you don't even have to be, it's much more, it's not so conscious like that. You're just going to a
Well, the
deeper
idea
level.
is to access your subconscious where a lot of the stories and stuff are held. That you need nicotine, that you need different things in order to, and then there's it gets to deeper understanding of well, you like that because it gives you a sense of grounding and being held and breathing, but can you imagine doing that for yourself? Can you imagine taking the breath that you take when you're smoking, but your lungs aren't angry at you, that your lungs who have supported you all through your life aren't fighting you, and kind of giving your body a chance to speak up for itself by giving yourself the space to listen to what your body might have to say once you kind of calm the conscious judging mind, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, we told Mare, but we still have to show her. Cass showed me this video. It's this guy's giving a TED talk about hypnosis, and then it cuts away to a cell phone video of this dude purposely just sped through a couple stop signs at twice the speed limit to try to get pulled over on purpose to see if he could just hypnotize the cop to just forget about why he even pulled him over. And it worked. The cop comes walking up, and the first thing is the cops, I think it's in Canada. Mm-hmm. So the cop's speaking French as he walks up, and the first thing the guy does is says, "Can you speak English?" And the cop's like, "Oh," and he switches over to English, and then the guy goes, "Did you ever just?" He goes, "Did you know how fast you were going?" And the guy goes, "Yeah, forget about that. Where's the next gas station?"
He's like, we'll get back to that.
We'll get back to that. Where's the next gas station? And the cop's like, the next gas station. He's a little confused, but he starts going with the guy's story. So the guy's already got him. And then he starts saying the word. Every time he says the word forget, he just snaps.
Have you ever just find yourself and you don't remember why you're there or why you're doing something?
You go into a room and you forget while you're there, and he
kind of bamboozled him. I don't think it's necessarily the best representation of hypnosis.
But it was quick. It was 30 seconds of showing what you can do. You could probably go through life like that, really.
I'm sure some people do.
Some people are really unsusceptible, though.
That's
another
you'll
thing.
meet a lot of people that are just a brick wall of a psyche, and you're like, cool, vibe. Because anybody that's doing any sort of performance, that's the game of hypnotism, right? That's what we're all trying to study with performance. How do you capture somebody's attention? How do you hold their attention? How do you get their psyche to move in the motion that you want them to move in? Yeah. So, And I would be like, I need to watch that video of that guy. I wonder if snapping, if like sound is a big thing with our memory too, and like the loudness of sound and the quietness of sound. And,
Well, it's
you know, like
also
how loud you are. Like I bet, like if you have a more piercing voice, it's like easier to cut through people's psyches
totally
and stuff. You know?
and it's also the interrupting a normal pattern that we're all used to with that kind of stuff because it's so weird.
Yes, totally.
It is very strange watching him say like forget. And then this guy literally
Well, then
he's
it's
like, yeah, the next gas station's there. You should get going there. And the guy just peels out and he's looking back in his rear view and he's like, yeah, no, he's pretty confused right now. He's just standing there. He doesn't know why he just did that. And the guy just takes off. And I was like, damn, if that's fucking real. Oh, I love that kind of shit.
Yeah, because it's like those funny, crazy videos you guys have seen on the internet of like people healing, like men with colds that like heal people without touching them or give them orgasms or like.
Yeah.
That's a treasure trove of YouTube videos.
This is a treasure trove of cringe of the fake versions of that stuff where it's like people are clearly faking it to try to like what I was talking about this morning, the commodification of everything.
Yeah.
You know, it's like.
Yeah.
We do have this ability to hypnotize each other, and like you always say, we're always doing it. We're hypnotized right now.
Totally.
We're hypnotized right now.
Totally.
And you know, we do that to each other, and we do it to other people. But then, there's the commodification of it, where it's like, no, this is a power, and like people try to anoint themselves a part of some priest class where only they know how to do it.
Oh yeah, it's what the deep state is the best at. I was also reading some article about that. They put a bunch of I forget what it's something arrhythmia. Like they hook up your head and they test the wavelength that your brain is, emitting at, like theta, beta, all of those states, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I was talking about this like a couple days ago. We think about kids as being super high frequency and like closer to God. I think generally in the spiritual community, that's how you talk about them. But in this study, it basically was like, oh no, kids are all like way lower frequency than all adults. And actually specifically at age 7, they start to get out of theta state. Basically, before 7, you're just in the state of theta, which is where you are when you're dreaming, which is
where you are when you're hypnotized.
The state of imagination, which is where you are when you're hypnotized. So during your first 7 years, you're basically only a blob of just receiving hypnotism.
You're tripping balls.
You're like not hypnotizing other people, yet you're kind of just, you're tripping fucking balls and just being kind of,
very vulnerable,
influenced and manipulated. And, which I thought was just like so fascinating. And knowing the people that who are more susceptible to these things definitely bring more of like a dreamy kind of an archetype, like more open and more, flowy, obviously. It's like a precursor to being able to be swayed in a certain direction.
You don't have your armor yet.
It's not necessarily a marker of intelligence, though, not being able to be hypnotized.
That's true.
No, that's what I'm trying. Yeah.
Because it's like it is like a release and a letting go that
definitely.
And I think it is consensual, so.
Yeah, I think you can help people orgasm.
For sure.
You should get into that.
Hypnotize them with your orgasm.
Devin is the one that I first started playing around with this, and I do totally understand how he was telling me how you could use it for like play space. Like if you are a kinky person, like you can kind of like go into, imagine you're having sex with a doll or whatever it is that you're into, like a raggedy. I don't know what people are into, but I remember him telling me something about like, being like you yourself even being an inanimate object.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't.
But that really is what sex is. It's just we're trying to hypnotize each other. There's no other way to describe what is happening with sex. Right.
You're
pretty
like,
much.
Forget.
Presence.
I'm just kidding.
And getting lost, there's
which is that? It's like forget.
Yeah. A detachment from the ego and all of its proclivities on how it wants to show up.
That's the fuck it button that every person possesses, should they want to tap into it. Their sexual
prowess.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, that's totally, that's a good fuck it button. Maybe not a good fuck it button, but it's like, I could do stuff where I could just fucking jerk off all day or whatever,
You're going to be able to hypnotize yourself so you don't even have to touch yourself. You just give yourself an orgasm.
Totally. I mean, you gotta
getting
know it's
so loose.
You gotta know it's possible if you have them in your dreams,
Yeah, when that's what got me thinking about all this. Like, I know we're in a system of extreme commodification of everything, but I was just thinking about like all the big things in life and how what they get whittled down to and what the product version of them is, and of course like pornography being like just a huge part of so many people's life. It's just the commodification of that, of that animalistic feeling we have in us. Religion is the commodification of spirituality.
Yeah.
Politics is the commodification of our instinct to organize. Man, you could pretty much just point it anywhere and figure out, our system of education is the commodification of our curiosity and our wanting to expand our consciousness and grow our intelligence. And all those things actually stifle the real thing.
Yeah.
Religion stifles a spiritual life for most people, at least these days. We're so pornography will stifle your sexuality if you abuse it.
Yeah.
So we're just we're kind of stuck in that kind of system, and again, it angers me when I tap into that. I'm like, motherfucker, how do I work with this? How do I achieve flow in a system that is like kind of bombarding you with like, whittle this down to a product, whittle this down to something that you can buy, and it makes everything so disposable, and it's not how I want my life to feel.
Yeah.
So it does feel like kind of a battle, but that the battle starts with like just identifying those things, at least for me.
Totally.
And that way you don't get hypnotized by them. Like if fucking porn is extremely hypnotic and alluring, and it's right there for you.
It does the work for you in a lot of ways.
Yeah. It releases all those chemicals, all those things you used to have to fucking work hard to get. You had to develop a personality. You had to get some fucking game going. You had to have some things to present, and now it's that feeling's available with a little fucking search on the internet.
Right.
Yeah, it's wild.
I think porn should be allowed to exist, obviously.
Of course, all this stuff. Of course, all of it. But, you have to be aware when you're being made into a product and when everything in your life is being made into a product. And
it's kind of like where psychedelics, like capitalist culture and psychedelics, when they come together, it's like you kind of have to go through I feel like it's a very common, and for myself in particular, but where you're like, all right, how do I serve this stuff? How do I it just becomes like, wait, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Now how do I do it? How do I help do it, or whatever it is? And you kind of got to work through those things. And some people are meant to serve that stuff, and some people aren't, have the energy or wherewithal to stick with it to do it well. But
yeah, I mean, but if you take it as a fucking curriculum, I think, at least with us, I think all three of us, the more psychedelic we've become as people, the less psychedelics we take. Like, we complain to each other not about how much drugs we take, about how we forget to take them, how we go months without taking mushrooms somehow, or how for some reason we haven't done a big dose of acid this year. You know what I mean? But I feel like all three of us have become the psychedelics more than ever, more than when we were taking them a lot. Well, if that makes sense.
After taking 4 microdoses of mushrooms yesterday, I was like, oh my God, do I have a mushroom deficiency?
Yeah.
I was like, this is so right. Oh my God, what have I been doing?
Yeah.
I keep forgetting.
I'm glad that was your experience.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much is every time. I'm just like, because it just brightens things and reminds me of patterns and activates my creativity and excitement for this experience. And
yeah. And with the commodification, there's almost like a precursor of you commodifying your own psyche before you even participate in commodification, because to be able to step up to the plate and enjoy that kind of a stuff, you had to have quantified and qualified, and it forces you to basically prison yourself into thinking that specific shapes and things get you to a certain place and certain desires instead of an openness to the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And
it's why we whittle ourselves down to workers. It's why labor is the commodification of those instincts.
Right.
Or we want to be productive and creative and make things. It's
serving society. You want to serve your fellow man. So
everyone has that instinct.
Right.
It gets quashed out at some point, and it gets turned into labor. And it's at a very young age that they start saying to you, what do you want to be when you grow up? And it's not what do you want to be or how do you want to feel. It's how are you going to convert your labor into money?
Yeah.
And it's like, fuck, man. Damn, we can't do better than that at this point.
Yeah. Well, and I think when we were, because certain, when you're saying I think there is a difference between commodifying and wanting to share good stuff and good information and yourself, even if we're talking about sex too, right? But when we were in community, well, it feels like at one point in community, what you had to share and what you had to give to community was what gave you like purpose and fulfillment and like the sweet sprinkles of life. And now, because everyone is in a desperate survivalist state, it's the thing that's going to just get you to survive. Not even like live a good life, but get you to survive. And so it feels like even if you have purpose in what you do, it almost takes some of the purpose out, because the purpose gets overridden by the need to survive and quantify it into dollars and bills.
Yeah.
And because the things that bring you bigger dollars and bills in our very distorted value system, there's no way to be successful without abiding by the laws of commodification that they already set forth for you.
It's exactly like when you said this morning, you were like, we're in an age where a lot of people are going to be waking up and realizing that they're not communists.
That's a whole nother conversation.
It makes sense because, like, in my heart, I think everyone kind of is. I think that's everyone's better instinct. But the system we live in has put forth a pattern where it doesn't make sense. It's really hard to do. And like you were saying, anyone that tells me they want to live on a commune and get a big piece of land, and it's like I was saying, throw a party for a weekend, have all those people come over there, deal with all the personalities, deal with all the this and the that, and tell me if you want to keep doing that. And beyond that, we don't live in a system where like a group like that. It's just, we're in the system of individuals. You go and you get a job and you get your paycheck and you pay your taxes. We're not set up for that. And I do think that that's where we're evolving to, and it's slowly but surely like showing itself with the tribalism that we're experiencing and all that stuff. I think it is our better instinct, but we're not set up for it right now. So there's going to be trailblazers. There's going to be people that somehow try to pull it off, but there's going to be a lot of miserable fails.
It'd be cool if we were incentivized to have more sharing communities.
But we don't want it. I'm sorry. We are incentivized more than any time of our existence on planet Earth to be communally oriented. It's the only thing that would serve everybody that's whining about the system that we're in, is create a system outside of it. But guess what? People don't want to do that. And I didn't want to think about the time that we're going into as dark with the age of Aquarius, and I really don't think about it like this anymore. But I do think we're going into space pods. We're going into tribalism because we're going into it to burn out all of those desires and see nobody wants this anymore.
Whoa, that's cool.
I guess what I just think of is mass farming, monoculture is what's subsidized by the government, not local CSAs. You know what I mean? Our system is set up where there's pure advantages.
Well, yeah, it's set up to funnel all of the wealth towards the oligarchs.
Yeah, it's hard to get land.
They already bought it all.
What they're doing in California now is they're trying to get it, and hopefully this will go other places, but because there's such a housing crisis, usually each plot of land, it's okay, you're allowed to build one house on your plot of land, even if you have 50 acres, 10 acres, whatever it is, you are only allowed to do that. But because there's such a housing crisis and so many homeless people, that there are places that are fighting that and making headway in... what we think is oh, why can't you just buy 20 acres and have a bunch of tiny homes? It's well, it doesn't fit within the ordinances. And yeah, it's you want everyone to do what they want to do, and then you live next to someone with a giant cock rooster, and you're just God damn it. No, I'm just kidding. This rooster doesn't bother me at all. I'm joking.
You move into next to some dude that is has a few giant
and then
cocks.
You gotta have chickens on the farm.
Yeah.
And probably a rooster.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I thought it was interesting that a lot of documentaries came out about cults and communes, and you guys were talking about an anarchist one, which really interests me because I think recently the filter of this life is all we're doing is burning out desires. A couple weeks ago it was all we're doing is dealing with traumas, and really desires are just what the things that arise from trauma, the things that you want because of trauma, right, to make you whole or whatever. And it really got me out of so much of the duality that I was boxing my life into, because you can't say a desire is negative or positive, and as long as you're running it out, you're moving forward, you know, because it's going to inform you. If you follow the desire, it will inform you whether you want it again.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
whether
you
don't
get
or-
held back so hard when you just suppress your
Yeah.
desire instead of going towards the desire, realizing it's not actually what you want, and then you burnt that out rather than spend your whole life thinking you want something that you're suppressing because you have fear of that desire.
Definitely.
And then you kind of get trapped. It's like, I think, talk about flow. I mean, we're just trying to find, like, we're a river trying to find our pathway. You don't want to be stuck behind a dam your whole existence.
That you created.
Well, that's, I guess, arguable.
Yeah. Well, the cult thing, I think, fits into what we're talking about. It's usually one person or a very small group of people trying to commodify the highest ideal and value that people could be coming to them with. Like, I want to live in harmony with other people without a hierarchical structure.
Yeah.
And they're like, I got you. You just got to give me all your money and your wife and your first 3 born children.
And we're going to commit suicide in 3 years.
Yeah, and then we're going to take your body.
Yeah, so I think during Saturn and Pisces, like, we're going to go really deep into cults, and we're going to go really deep into tribalism over the next few years. I think that's, like, the progression of human consciousness, but I think it's all just going to, like...
Yeah.
I think it's all going to blow up, and people are going to realize, like, I don't want to deal with you anymore.
And it'll be the same way that the 80s was a reaction to the 60s and 70s. We'll have a decade like that of just pure fucking insane capitalist indulgences. And
Do you think, like, because technology's speeding up, everything's speeding up, that we're going through these patterns faster?
Definitely.
Like the phase of the cults of the 70s will be a lot faster now, or whatever it is.
It really feels like that. It feels like time is speeding up, and the way that we collectively burn desires is speeding up because there's more of us.
yeah.
So it's like, literally, it's just like happens faster.
Look what just happened with the crypto cult with this last boom. You know, how
that's going to come back too.
Yeah, it just was like big cocaine energy.
Yeah.
Big, and that's in this documentary, The Anarchists. They have it well documented. They went from like, cool, yeah, we're all like people from various walks of life. No one really has
we don't want anyone telling
wealth.
us what to do.
We don't want anyone telling us what to do. And then all of a sudden, this little line on a fake fucking market goes up, and everyone is like coked out, just out of their minds. Just very revealing, very revealing. And
Totally.
we know people personally. I'm not going to name names, but we know people personally that should become overnight fucking assholes because they think they're rich. They're not even rich.
Yeah.
They're a fucking gambling addict in a casino with a little bit of a bigger pile of chips than they usually have, and they're acting like fucking fuckheads.
Yeah.
And it's just so revealing as to what money does to people, as to what people are really about, more than someone being rich. When they think they're rich, they start to inhabit all that shit. It is so disturbing.
It's good and bad, though, because
It's burning out the desires.
Well, for every person that might have come off like an asshole or whatever, there was also the people who we saw have relief for the first time in their life, that there was a lightness to them.
You're onto something with that.
You know, there was like a freedom of like possibilities of not feeling like under the thumb for the rest of their life.
But it wasn't real because it was fake, because it was the commodified version of what they really want, what their desire really wants, which is safety and security, and it's not something crypto can provide, you know, in a boom cycle. I'm sorry, it's just not. It's not going to scratch that itch.
I think it will, and I think it's because our whole enjoyment and the bigness or smallness of life is all gauged off of your bravery. And of course, when you have more power, you're more brave. And money in our society does equal power. And I want those people to get excited because my big thing is like I want people to want money. We need good people to want to make a lot of money because that's the way you make a difference in this world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter how many times if I do community service every day, if I stopped making money for myself and did that, like,
you could help the world a lot more if you were flush.
You know it. The amount of energy that I can move that's positive and the resources that I can give out and the space that I can hold on a physical level, on an emotional, is just, yeah, we need good people to have money so that they can give it away. It's like a big thing, but it sucks because you get onto this other side of capitalism and you're like, oh, money doesn't matter and this other side of life makes me happy. But it's like, but fuck, we need to like feed the homeless though. So like,
the instinct becomes like, you can't help to like have a hoarding mentality. I'm not saying everyone when they have abundance hoards. Like there are people who are very generous.
No, there are some like young people making money now. Like there's some money moving finally, but we need more of them.
Well, the boomers certainly aren't giving it up.
No, it's crazy. They're crazy. They're insane.
They're in a death grip with this shit. They worked too hard. Unfortunately, they sacrificed their lives for this little fucking pile of gold they think they have. They think they have, again. Try getting it out of your 401k. Try to get it out of your retirements.
Yeah.
Trust me, it's not there. It's not like...
Yeah.
They got us.
Yeah. Yeah, and the middle class is going to be gone in like 10 years.
It's been dwindling for so long, and you can track that with the decline in unions.
Yeah.
You know, union membership for the working class used to be like in the high 80s, 90%, and now it's like 7% of people. And they've poisoned the well so hard that your average person, if you ask them about unions, are against them. It's just like, oh man.
Yeah.
You know.
I want to move weight. I want to move like mad weight, and that's been my new like, all right. Which is funny because it's my year of accumulating personal value.
Moving weight? Pushing weight, moving weight.
No, I think I should. My last name's Landon, so I think I should live up to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard because then you have to play by their rules and the system's rules, and that's the only way you can fuck the system is getting on your knees and abiding by them for a while. But I'm so like, I get so bent about it, y'all. I get so like, if in 10 years I just continue to let the 1% fuck me, therefore fuck the community, like I'll never forgive myself. I've got to be able to get on the sly. I can't.
Well, I think it might come to a mass hypnosis of
I like this idea.
Yeah.
The 1% where it's like, imagine you had money to share and you shared it with people and saw them benefit their community and therefore benefit you, and that you lived in a much more beautiful world because you can invest in your neighbors. And when you invest in your neighbors and you shop locally, you're supporting people who will then invest in you. And you know, there's a way to like flip the script on people who think that like we have to get to Mars. That I mean, I don't have access to those people, but if I did,
definitely.
If your parents are in the 1%, I'm gonna write a script for them. You know?
Ooh, yeah, there you go.
No, but I was just telling Sean, it's like they're not though. They're not because there's. And my dad was an economics major. I do need to tap him on that, that part of his psyche that I keep. Like every time I try and tap him, it's like another language, and he's lost me. But I'm determined now. You know.
Yeah.
If anyone can understand it, it's you.
Yeah, they've been good with investing, but not good in like the third way that like really the 1% are good at investing. Because my dad is still dependent on he's still a wage labor person.
He's a wage
slave.
You know, he's very high paid wage slave.
You know, he's
well,
like,
when it's a good wage, you're like, let's slave to this thing.
And who's to say none of us would fall victim to that? You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. I saw this this little Reddit video of some dude in his 50s or whatever being like, don't take a wage job. It's like the worst contract you'll ever start to be, because the security you'll get from it, you'll never be able to replace that in your life instantly. Yeah. So you're always going to go back to it, you know, and you won't be able to escape. Because it's interesting because you say that, and to me it brings it back to like, because we're in scarcity. Because again, we used to want to do things because it was fulfilling, not that it was security. Yeah. Not that it was bringing us to a place of safety. We were safe. Yeah. And then it was exciting to do the thing that we did in the community, you know.
But what labor's become is so far detached from the product, you know. So and it creates a detachment for us. Yeah. Like when we're not attached to what the product is, how it gets out there, what its usefulness is, how it's marketed, what it's sold, and we're not attached to the profits of it, it becomes this very crazy hellscape, you know, that people go off into the slog all the time.
Oh, yeah. I mean, through this whole thing, like, you know, with our business not being booming, I was like, why don't you just go get a job at, like, a production company? I'm like, do you know how much money I'd be making for other people? Like, I can't do it. Now that I've made money for myself, I can't do it for someone else right now. Yeah. Like, I can't give it away. I'd rather be broke than work my ass off, lose my livelihood and my time and energy to be a slave to the next job. Because like the way it would be is like, okay, you're on this job, but you have to go to the next job. And I'm like, I would rather
they pay
pretty
you well.
much
Like, you know, making $1,000 a day as a producer, maybe more, maybe $1,500 a day, 6 days a week though. The second the job ends, you think it's some sort of relief and you're going to get this big paycheck. Everyone goes to the next job and the next job.
And if you don't go to the next job, you get like out of the cycle or the circle or whatever it is. And I don't know, it's a priorities thing, but I also have the luxury of being able to be supported by like with shelter by family that allows us to invest in ourselves and go through the darker days and in investment and hope that we can earn the money based on that time. But that's a huge luxury.
Yeah. I mean, the class war has shifted into such a high gear that the game has completely revealed itself. They used to be able to kind of fight the class war unbeknownst to us. Like, like decreasing union membership and making these right to work states and like
poisoning the water.
Just
using silent
exactly.
sound technology.
Exactly. They used to be able to fight this war on us in a much more like getting away with it way.
Now they're just killing Epstein in front of us.
They don't give a fuck. It's all out warfare. They'll fucking if someone's gonna try to unionize a fucking place, Trader Joe's will close it. Starbucks will just close it. Like they don't care. They're not. Amazon will close a warehouse before they'll fucking allow this shit to go on. They'll fucking kill people.
Wait, what happened to Anonymous? Why aren't they like telling us shit?
They've been fucking corrupted and commodified, and they're like I don't know. It used to be like you'd see their like.
Sure, their leader got killed. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, do you know how many
Do you know
how many environmentalists are killed? Like you're pretty much
lot, dude.
And scientists.
Environmentalists, scientists, anyone who's like trying to protect the land, you're like sure to get. I'm not trying to discourage
Deep
people
psychics.
from doing this.
You don't know about those people; they get killed too. Start knowing CIA information.
Yeah, there is a such thing as knowing too much. There really is.
Get you out of here.
Yeah, you will be compromised in some way.
Oh, and you know that we solved the energy problem like 100 years ago, probably like 5 times over through different scientists they just murdered.
Of course.
But then they're like, but then how would we sell this oil?
Yes, exactly.
I mean, the craziest thing is like that we have record profits right now, and we have the most insane inflation. It's like
it's fake. It's not, you shouldn't even call it inflation. That's it. Like that's an insult. That's hypnotizing
robbery.
Us to thinking it's our fault.
Yeah, it's robbery.
Yeah, no, exactly.
But I'm also like of the mindset. It's like a weird mindset that things should start to cost more. This is like kind of weird, but so we shift our values because like
so our labor should cost more. When that I don't think prices on anything should change until our labor costs more, and it doesn't.
But don't you ever feel like, oh my god, it's insane how cheap something that's like a limited resource is?
Anything,
you know,
like,
and that
made money on
that
this?
we're like building our society around the fact that the oil costs like $2 a gallon or whatever it did for a long time.
Mm.
Anyway, I'm not trying to say I want oil to be expensive. I'm just saying if it was though, maybe we would have creative solutions.
For what it does, it should be a lot more expensive. It should be like the cost of a fucking damn diamond. At least diamonds we can manufacture. We can't fucking create oil. So yeah, it should cost a lot. There is a limited amount of it, and it wreaks havoc on this planet.
But if it did cost more, we wouldn't buy cars, and if we didn't buy cars, then the car companies wouldn't get their record profits, and it's just like the system runs so deep.
We say that, but the people with like more money than you can even imagine, like not even the 1%, like
the 0.1%.
The thing, the billions where you'd
it's
have to work.
all oil.
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia.
Of
It's
course.
all our money on our planet is in Saudi Arabia.
Abu Dhabi.
So it's like, is it expensive or is it cheap? I don't know. How much do we really have of it?
Probably a lot more.
Like we're making a lot of money because you think like, okay, well they'll charge more, but then where does that money go? To our schools? No.
No, it goes into accounts in Abu Dhabi. That's why Abu Dhabi is the world's richest city. It's not because it has the most money. That's where everyone puts their money. There's a central trust there.
Yeah.
And that's where all the oligarchs of the world invest and keep their money.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, whatever, they're hoarding it now because they know that they're going to have to switch the plan up a little bit as this one reveals itself. And it is. You don't have to worry about it. Everything starts to reveal and correct itself, and shifts happen, but you just have to allow for the shifts to happen in yourself.
Yeah.
And that happens by becoming more aware and kind of breaking the cycle of hypnosis that's been cast on us through our education, through the way we socialize, through social media, through the way we consume, through the way we work.
Yeah, they want us. Well, it's to the advantage of some people that we're so stressed that we can't even be conscientious of our consumption habits, Yeah. They're just like, okay, yeah, paper towels are easiest, paper napkins are easiest, paper plates are easiest, plastic, everything's easiest,
Yeah, and that's just playing off of our survival instincts too. Convenience, obviously, because we used to have to hoard our energy so much when we were having to chase down a buffalo and then do whatever. It's like, of course, always the quickest thing is what you're the smartest thing to do.
Yeah.
No, it's right. Convenience is like one of their easiest pulls on us.
Give us convenience or give us death.
And we need convenience
Amazon.
Yeah.
It's like, how it created the biggest empire.
We know it's evil.
And we still do
Everyone
of
knows
convenience.
Everyone
It's
knows
so
it's evil.
fucked
Give us convenience or give us death.
Give us options or give us death. The amount of options we have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know it's a force for evil. We know it's destroying small businesses, the planet. We know Jeff Bezos is like a fucking Dr. Evil looking motherfucker.
Probably a lizard.
Definitely. That's not a... He would have to convince me he's human. Yet, it's such a convenient thing that we use it. We use it.
I do.
I'm against it. These guys are fucking union-busting, fucking the worst corporation you can fucking
But then we're like,
imagine.
but we want a giant tub of Sal suds.
So we can be environmentally friendly.
It's so twisted.
Because somehow Dr. Bronner's has hypnotized us into thinking that plastic bottles with the word healing on it
Heal the earth.
heal the earth.
In every size plastic bottle.
Every size plastic bottle you can imagine.
If Dr.
That's
Bronner's
better.
really wanted to heal the earth, they would have stores that sold. It would be barrels of soap where you refill your soap containers.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all a joke though. They're selling us on the concept that
Yep.
they're green or
But
some
that
shit.
would have to mean stores would have to facilitate that.
Uh-huh.
You know,
What would
it's
be in it?
it's always because smaller people are answering to the big people, and the big people suck.
Mm-hmm.
This is all the problem with big government. This is why we never should start this goddamn thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, the pandemic edged us a little closer towards like a decentralization type of mindset, and I think at least conceived that idea in a lot of people's heads because we decentralized the workplace. That's a big thing.
I will say I didn't think I'd hear in my lifetime defund the police. I didn't think I'd ever hear stuff like that.
I didn't think I'd hear legal weed in my life.
We're abolitionists and
See, that's
have
crazy.
been
I always
forever.
was like, this shit's gonna be.
I've been an abolitionist since fucking 1999, and I never thought that would be a mainstream concept. And it all of a sudden overnight was a mainstream concept, which got commodified and belittled and turned into a joke, and now is a thing that the Democrats use to fucking win back their voting base. Like the whole idea, the whole concept isn't even talked about in a real way. Because it's a spiritual concept. The idea, you know about this, not wanting there to be a force that could kidnap us and take our freedom. You know, like
it's super crazy how politicized it gets, and it's one of the things that, to me, I don't know how they duped like the right-wing people on this, because police are innately non-right wing. Police are actually, that's like a liberal concept to have someone policing your neighborhood. It's like very anti-right wing, which is all no government.
They're enforcing,
so it's
the
really,
police enforce the government status quo.
It's so interesting.
Why would either side be on?
Yeah, how it turned into this like conservative people want police. But it's because they're so good at making us be afraid of each other.
Oh, yeah.
Like they're just so good at that.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yep.
And it's the basis of like both parties.
Absolutely.
You know?
They just want to scare you in different ways.
Yeah, totally, in different ways. But yeah, I'm eager to see the radicalization that we're going to get, and hope people just get more and more radical. And yeah, it's hard with cancel culture. We're sort of anti-radical innately with what we're doing right now. But
believe it or not, the generation below you, I'm not worried because they are innately radicalized just from what they've lived through, and they're not into all this stuff, the cancel culture. That's millennial bullshit.
Okay.
Definitely. I think.
Okay.
I think it's millennial bullshit. I think the millennials are the last generation that's too far under the spell that we're not going to be leading the revolution. It's going to be Gen Z or whatever they fucking call the people below them. Even that distinction between Gen Z, the boomers, this and that, is the language of commodification and division. It's meant to think of us like they want us fighting an intergenerational war. They want us fighting identity wars. They want us divided over all these ever nuanced fucking bullshit things that they feed us, as opposed to being like, oh, well, society's clearly divided into winners and losers. The winners are becoming ever more a sliver that you have to be very lucky to get into, and there's really nothing you can do to get into that club anymore.
Yeah, I'm a proud loser.
Yes, exactly. So, but that's the thing. Once we all start realizing, like, we all lost. Okay, this is great. It sucks, but we lost. We lost. Now we can fucking identify the problem and start to fucking take care of business again. But if we're going to keep fighting these bullshit, like, oh, they're different from me because of this and because of that, not really. Not really. That's what it comes down to for me, especially when I get these mushrooms going.
Yeah, no, and like we should be able to have conversations where we do the generalization thing, but it's also because we're taught such a dualistic Christian view of the world where some things are good and some things are bad, and we have such a hard time holding complexity within diversity. As soon as we get separated, instead of it being, which I actually really appreciate. In British school, we had different houses, sort of like in Harry Potter. Like I was in the Victoria house. We had an Elizabeth house. Okay. And we used to play sports against each other. So I wasn't just on the netball team at school. I was on like the Victoria house netball team. We used to play against each other. And I don't know, there's something in British school within that it was like a healthy competition that I never felt in American school and culture and society and stuff. And I don't know how we bring that in, but it felt like we learned to play with difference as an illusion because we knew it was an illusion. Like we're all just students, so we just stepped into these houses or whatever. And that it was fun to compete with each other. And that innately made us better at it. But there wasn't an automatic, it was never divisive in a negative way.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if this is a good, the way that I'm dropping this down from like here to here example, but...
well, there's more benefit of the teamwork that went into it and working together as a team that outshined that you're dominating someone else. You're like,
yeah, totally.
Look at how good we can do this because we work together and because.
Yeah. And there was a funness and a playfulness that you don't see in politics at all, like within debates and within conversations of like, it's fun that we're on different sides of this line. It's almost like a deep, like, romanticization of the human experience, which is to be separate, but it's fun. It's fun that you're on that team and I'm on this team.
Like
you know what I mean?
The curiosity. We've lost the curiosity. Like, and this is where it feels like the Democrats went so off the rail where they're like, you are so deplorable that we don't even care how you got to believe what you believe. You're just a fucking idiot who believes bullshit.
Well, it was a good word to pull in because that was the
the
straw that broke the camel's back. I think that's what lost us. I think it lost a lot of people from ever thinking about them as the better party ever again.
We should just be. I think we should be appealing to everyone's better nature, and I think if we look at the desires of people who are angry at this system, it's because they feel like they've been fucked over. So there's a way to appeal to people and say, you know what? Whether you see it now or not, we don't want to fuck you over, but we will try to appeal to you because we want you to see that we care about you. And we care about you and your family, and we want you to live a good life, and we want you to be supported with health care and your community to be strong and flourishing. But it's not that. It's like, no, we want to fucking rape your ass.
Yeah, pretty much. Rape and rob you.
Pretty much.
Yikes. Yeah. Yeah, we've lost so much playfulness in so many realms, it feels like.
Yeah.
Playfulness in the battle.
That's the cost of all this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
A whimsy. A certain
we have
whimsy.
Lost a whimsy.
Yeah. It's really unfortunate, but it can be recaptured in moments for sure. So if we can capture it in little moments, I think we can start to expand that out. And, I think more people, like based on what we're saying and our diagnosis of what's going on here, more people need to lean into their better nature and listen to their gut and not their lizard brain that's saying, be comfortable, play by the rules.
And I think also trust that everyone has a better nature.
Oh, yeah.
And if you're not looking, you should look for what you want to find, you should look for. So you should be looking for people's better nature.
Yeah, and there are no good guys. You're the bad guy.
Definitely the bad
guy.
Yeah. And you're probably a fool too, My life started to get a lot better when I fully realized I was an idiot. Mm-hmm. Then everything after that just got a little bit easier because I was like, okay, that will be dumb.
Yeah.
I'll be dumb with that too.
Well, you can drop the righteousness, which obviously peeks its ugly head all the time, but like...
Absolutely.
I used to hate when people that I thought were smart or admired would say stuff like little throwaway lines like, but I don't know anything. I'm not smart. I'm dumb. And I'm like, no, you're not at all. Like, don't do that, because I couldn't admit that part of myself.
Totally.
But once you embrace it, now I'm like, anytime I hear someone like, usually comedians, and it's the smart ones.
Yeah, deprecating.
That'll deprecate themselves in that way. And now I'm like, I almost respect them a lot more. I'm like, okay, cool. You're not on one. You're not too righteous. And how could anyone know anything besides your instinct? How could you know anything? Everything's changing so fast all the time. Like, there's nothing to hang your hat on in this life.
And as soon as you do, it'll crumble.
Yeah.
But it almost is, to show up to the moment. It does require a little bit of both, right? Like you have to claim something to be speaking or whatever in the moment. It's like that balance of course, we don't want you to fully go into, which I go into this whole all the time of like, I'm such an idiot, you don't deserve to do anything, or you know, like you want to hold a balance of like, there's something, even if it's idiocracy that I'm beaming out right now, that'll be worth consuming or just burning through. That's what's relieved me recently. Why I'm using that language is like burning through stuff is a relieving way to think about the way that life is moving, you know, because there's no expectation of how did it go? It's burned. So
yeah.
I want to like burn out the apathy, you know, like of I can't do anything, I can't make anything better. It's like, no, like I want to support my higher ideals, because when I take the mushroom, it reminds me that like, oh, I do care about little things, and it's okay to care about. It's okay to want to like use napkins instead of paper towels, and it's okay to not to make that my whole mission. Everyone must use napkins, but it's like you can seduce people into being like, hey, I think we could use napkins. This is a good idea, or whatever it is. You know, like, oh, I got these pretty napkins so that we don't need to use paper trees, and it's actually really good because right now trees are really expensive to cut down.
And you're like giving you reasons to lean into your power of hypnosis and build up these superpowers of seduction that you're building, you know, because you do have things, just like righteousness is not always negative, that like to enjoy life at all, you got to believe in some stuffs.
Yeah.
You know, to be able to invest in it, you know.
I hope I don't lose this belief, but I do believe and I do trust that I want what's best for people.
Absolutely.
And so I trust that about myself, and it's the only thing that I'm able to really kind of trust in right now. So it makes me not scared about doing hypnosis, because I don't fear that I'm like doing it for weird reasons.
Well, you can't let the barnacles of pessimism harden and form on the hull of your life, because think about what that does to a ship, you know?
Totally.
It just slows it down a little bit, and all those things, which there's many barnacles on all of our hulls, are slowing us down, a little bit. But once you start waking up to it a little bit, they start to just shed and fall off, and you know, whatever, and you can burn them out. You really can.
Yeah. By
examining things and being a little bit more self-critical, and knowing that you and everything's bullshit. Like, it's just like whatever. That sounds like a pessimistic barnacle, but it's a way of relieving yourself of the duty of the heavy weight of having to know things and all. Like, chill it out.
But
chill it out.
I think it's also, and sometimes baby can get thrown out in the bathwater where you're like, oh, everyone's the bad guy, that you forget that it is powerful to admire someone and the strides that they're making for their community, for their world, for their, like, just because they're a complex human being that is not, you shouldn't put on a pedestal, that doesn't mean you can't admire characteristics that someone's doing to try to make this world a better place.
Definitely. And that, with the things that we consume, it's a good way to get closer to the product, is because then the value of it actually means something to you when you know who makes it, and when you know the effort that they put in and how they got to the spot that they're in to even get to make you the thing that you consumed. And I'm grateful for platforms that beam out individuals so that we can take advantage of some of that.
You know where our money flows more than any place?
fucking Shakedown Street.
Yeah.
I don't consider how much things are or anything like that. It's beyond that. It's like, me getting something here makes this whole thing go round, and I love this thing.
Totally.
And Shakedown Street is just like the what would you call that? How would you describe this? Someone doesn't know.
The bazaar at a Grateful Dead show.
Yeah, and it's beyond Grateful Dead shows. Like now, it's just become like the thing that pops up at Fish shows, whatever.
Jam band shows.
Jam band
bazaar.
Yeah, and it's a lot of just stuff for sale, and our money flows in those places. I'd prefer to shop there than anywhere. Everywhere else we go, I'm just like, oh man, this is such a creepy, fucked up process. But there, I'm like,
oh, this is the person that made that. I'm watching them make it right now.
Yeah.
And they need to sell 10 of these to get into the show tonight. And they need to sell 20 if they want to make it to the next one.
Yeah, it like aligns you to the humanity and meaning. And I think what you were talking about with like kind of trusting yourself and or at least like being aligned to like goodness and not flinching on that. That like has taken me a second. I think that takes a second, separate from your artistry, like that. Like, oh I know there's not even a way that my intentions couldn't be aligned with the way that I'm setting up this equation with other people, you know, and to find that formula for yourself. And, you know, it's different for different people. Maybe you're really close to people, the way you work with them, maybe you're far away.
Well, maybe it's because I'm not charging for it. So maybe once there becomes like a transaction.
Start to feel fucked up.
Yeah, who knows?
You're just going to have to look at it in a different way. The same way Mare's journey of tattooing, you know, went from probably something like first something necessity, and then something you love, and then something very sweet, and then something you have mastery over, and then something that's like, have I made a deal with the devil here? You know what I mean? I went through all this with filmmaking. Yeah. That's the only reason I can see it with you. Where you go through this whole thing on the other side of the mastery thing and the recognition, which we've both had, which we've all had, is that questioning, the devil coming in. You know, and you know, you're at a very sweet and innocent part of this process.
I just want to stay here.
It probably makes you a much more effective
Let me just stay
hypnotist.
Here. I'm a mess right now, but I'm very grateful to the people who are letting me try things out. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited. We haven't done one yet. I think we should do a group one.
Yeah, we should.
Have you ever? Is it like a no-no if you try and get into it while you do it?
No, I think the best hypnotists are self-hypnosing at the same time that they hypnotize someone else.
Totally. I wonder who's more, like, Sean and I are both pretty open.
I'm pretty susceptible. I think you would be too.
If human design it means anything, then you'll be, I guess, more susceptible than I am. But I feel pretty susceptible in general.
I feel like
Sean's definitely more susceptible.
Especially, this isn't really like a fair dynamic, I guess, for us. But
no, this wouldn't be a good judge of it. We'd have to get a rando in there.
It's probably good that Cass is just on the phone too.
Yeah.
Oh, howdy ho. Too pretty to be.
Yeah.
It is very intimate. It does
feel intimate. She has like
intimate.
the eyes of all eyes to be a hypnotist.
Yeah. She's too intoxicating.
She
She now admits to me all the local people because I run errands with her, but I stay in the car and she'll come out and like now she's finally like, oh yeah, this guy, the guy always tells me I have the sweetest eyes he's ever seen, and I'm like, what's going on?
Well, you keep sending me in to get your zips, and I'm like, I hope you know what you're sending me into.
Every time I go and buy these things, the guy fucking flirts with me, and he's getting more and more fresh every time.
It's sweet. When you're my age, I'm like, this is sweet.
Yeah, definitely.
I think you're going to be able to psychically just start hypnotizing people from the car and stuff in a couple years.
Ooh, from the car.
Yeah.
That's nice. A traveling hypnotic show.
Yeah, maybe you can start. Maybe the hand motions will help. Maybe you should start practicing with hand motions.
I really only want to help people using the words and intention they already have. Like taking what their intention is, knowing the formula to activate that intention on a subconscious level. And that's where it's like, for me, it becomes very pure because I've been someone who wants to fix people and help people and figure out how to crack the code of what words can I say. And I realize like it's not my advice will always land on deaf ears because it's like bullshit. I don't know what's better for someone, but when they tell me what they want and then I just reformulate it, knowing the tricks that I've learned because it's just a tool of how you use language, I'm like, this is kind of like it's not really ego enforcing, which is nice.
Yeah, well, and it's cool because you're like leading them, like you said, into this realm of their subconscious, and then they do all the work, or their demons, or their angels, or however you want to look at it.
And I'm not particularly attached to like.
And you don't even really know.
Yeah, because I think for some people it'll happen on the first thing, and for some people it's like several sessions, and it's whether or not they continue to re-listen to a session, whether or not they commit to it. Like it's.
Well, you know,
it's not really my business. It's
it's dawning on me right now what the ultimate spin cycle for some lucky listener out there or some bold listener out there would be to book a session with all three of us. So you get hypnotized by Cass. And then Mare tells you like your destiny.
Wait, are we about to get competitive here?
No, but like think about like.
So who do you think helped you the most?
No. Like
definitely, it's gonna be Kat. You have the funnest one.
Yeah, you do.
Sean's just yelling at you.
I'm yelling, and then you're like, "Hey, these are the things you can't avoid." Sorry, I know Sean yelled at you and everything, but you're
kind of trapped in your birth chart anyway.
No, I'm mostly saying the opposite to people.
Yeah. I'm very self-deprecating in my things, you know, in my little things, like because I think people want to be like, they're talking to a filmmaker who's made it, and I'm just like, I'm not a filmmaker right now. I'm a guy talking to you. I'm like, I'm starting this new thing where I'm doing creative consultations. I'm down at the bottom of a new thing.
Yeah.
So I get very self-deprecating. I just put myself in their place and give myself a pep talk, but I'm giving it to them. You know, like what would I need to hear if I was in this stage of whatever their project is?
Well, you've had a lot of experience pep talking with me, so
that's a good time to wrap up. I can't believe this wasn't an issue before.
Perfect timing.
Yeah. This has been a damn pleasure. We're out here on a beautiful fall day in October, Trinity Infinity. Join our various Patreons.
Yeah.
Follow Mare on TikTok, Listening to Spirit on TikTok, Instagram.
YouTube, too. You can follow me on YouTube.
Listening to Spirit on YouTube
All
as
the
well.
socials.
She has great content. She has quick stuff, too. And then you have a Patreon where you're doing a little bit longer of things. And is that also Listening to Spirit?
That is patreon.com/Mare the Artist. No periods or spaces or anything. Yeah, those are like longer, more in-depth readings. The YouTube and the TikTok are shorter. I post some music to Instagram and TikTok and stuff too to try and get people over there. It's a variety of goodies, whatever I feel like. I'm trying to get more flowy with my content too. I'm trying to find a balance between being consistent enough for people to feel like held, but also like, you know, championing womanhood and not holding to an oppressive schedule and changing it up. So, yeah.
How do people
whatever, I'm a fool. You know, I'm an idiot, if anything. I can entertain you.
Tell the people how they can get inked up by you now that you're keeping regular days.
Pray to the right gods.
Yeah, you better fucking... If you want Mare to fucking put her art on your skin, you better start praying.
I work at a shop called Liar Ava in Brooklyn. It's at 59. Well, I work at 59 Grand most of the time. So, yeah, you can hit up their reception team if you... Yeah.
If you're in New York City.
You want to get your hand done?
Yeah, that's going to be Mare's specialty.
Yeah, get me all up on you in that way.
And get hypnotized by Cass.
Get hypnotized by Cass.
I'm doing like one a week. If you wanted me to practice on you, I'm here for it.
And if you want to give a creative consultation with me, reach out. And tons of content and always new stuff on patreon.com/churchofchill. It means the world to us when people join up. If you've been considering doing it for a while, now's the time. There's more stuff on there than ever. And more to come.
When you turn this off, can you do a circle? Because I feel like we did get the...
You're doing it.
Okay,
the full fall view.
Yeah, if you're watching us on YouTube, you're going to be treated to Cass's cinematography right now. Thanks for joining us, y'all. Peace, love, and magic.
Okay, I'm doing it.
All right. I'll stand by. I'll be just looking great over here. Welcome to our paradise. This is why we shot this outside. It's too beautiful.